Hey guys, this is Jerry. So, why do robots that are lifelike in some ways look scary? Why, when you look at taxidermy, moose or owls or deer that are placed on a wall, why does that scare you? Why is that things that seem to look very, very similar or close to what the actual thing is, but not quite? Why does that scare us? So there's a concept in psychology, or maybe this isn't even psychology, this is some other kind of social science, maybe this is sociology, it doesn't matter, but it's called the Uncanny Valley. So I want to explain to you guys what the Uncanny Valley is, and then I'm going to apply it maybe beyond where it's been applied so far. On the y-axis is how likable you feel towards something, an object, etc. On the x-axis is how familiar it looks to whatever is real. As something looks familiar to the real thing, we start liking it more. It starts looking cool, it starts looking cute if it's a stuffed animal. But right down here, it gets so close to looking real, but it's not quite real. That's where this is called the Uncanny Valley. And I don't know why psychologically it triggers this. If something that looks almost exactly like the original, but not quite, doesn't make you a little weary or queasy or uneasy, then let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure this Uncanny Valley very descriptively describes a certain feeling that all of us get. For example, when we see a mannequin, since this channel talks about interesting stuff, sex bots, our current sex dolls, don't they kind of look a little scary? So the first thing I want to apply this to is not just objects and things and physical experience. I also want to apply this to behaviors that, let's say, are not exactly like what the norm is, or maybe what is really what's natural, but almost there. For example, a pickup artist that's trying to be smooth, trying to be confident, but he's not quite there yet. He's doing certain things that maybe resemble confidence. He's maybe standing in a certain way, maybe talking a certain way, but something, whether his body language, his eyes, his muscles around his face, something's off. So it makes him look really sketch and really weird, really just not himself, not natural. There's a very big problem to fake it till you make it, because until you make it, you're going up here and then boom, that's when you lose a lot of friends, and that's when a lot of people stay away from you before you get there. And I've thought about this for a while, and then today I realized potentially this could be applied also to cultures. So I was watching a movie called City of Life and Death. This is a movie directed in China in 2009 about the fall of Nanjing in World War II and how the Japanese pillaged and raped and did horrible stuff in the city. In a way, you can think of it like China's Schindler's List. The movie had a lot of controversy in China because they wanted to show the rape of Nanjing, as it's called, from the Japanese point of view. And there's a scene towards the end. The Japanese are mourning the dead on their side from all the invasions, etc., that they've done. They are doing a festival to honor the dead. And it looks cool. But for someone like me that's seen traditional Chinese culture, seeing traditional Japanese culture just made me really uneasy. And it's not because I've been taught all my life that Japanese people are evil or whatever. And I realized it has a lot to do with this. Japan and China have traditionally interacted a lot, and China has traditionally been more powerful. So a lot of Chinese culture has been taken by the Japanese and absorbed into their own culture. So there's many aspects of Chinese culture in Japanese culture, but of course Japanese culture has its own uniqueness. The culture of Japan, they got their Hanzi kanji, I believe it's called in Japanese. So a lot of the Japanese written language looks like Chinese, but it's not pronounced like Chinese. The Japanese kind of look Chinese, or you could say the other way, Chinese kind of look Japanese, but not quite exactly the same. And a lot of Japanese practice has a lot of Tang Dynasty influence, but it still has elements of their own. So you see certain similarities, in fact, a lot of similarities, but the differences are just noticeable enough that if you apply this paradigm, the Japanese and Chinese culture, if you're Japanese looking at Chinese culture, if you're Chinese looking at Japanese culture, you see each other exactly right down here. For example, we can now look at nations. For example, America and Canada are so similar that they're probably somewhere up here, right? So America and Canada passed the Uncanny Valley. And I was trying to think of other examples of cultures that are kind of maybe in the Uncanny Valley when they perceive each other. So far, I've only come up with Japan and China. And then I was thinking about, where does Korea fall? So Korean culture is very similar to Chinese culture also, but Korea got colonized by Japan for way longer than China did. So Korean culture has a lot of Japanese influence. And then on top of that, South Korea was, you could say colonized, or maybe colonized is the wrong word, but South Korea has a lot of Western influence from American bases, and the fact that the UN saved it from North Korea conquering it after World War II. So in a way, South Korea is actually out of this uncanny valley, but on this side, South Korea might be actually here. I don't know what South Koreans think about Chinese people, but when you ask Chinese people about South Koreans, like, yeah, South Koreans, they're cool, man. You know, they're a little arrogant, they're a little too proud, but they're cool. So maybe South Korea's up here. I assume the Scandinavian countries, a Norwegian looking at a Danish guy, or let's say a Swedish person looking at a Finn, they're probably somewhere here too. They're so similar, and there's no real big distinct differences to cause it to go down here. So let me know, guys, are there any other cultures that you think are in the uncanny valley with each other? The only thing I could think of, and again, if you're Arab or you're Muslim and you watch this, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe Sunnis and Shia are down here. That's why they can't get along. Let me know if that's true. And potentially maybe Bangladeshis and Pakistanis maybe down here. If you guys are South Asian, let me know. I like to overthink, and I like to come up with my own hypotheses. So scrutinize this and add in. Thank you. Bye-bye.